Hello everyone, welcome to Walk the Parks. My name is Blake. Today we are going to take a journey into the fiery furnace of Arches National Park. Now, the first thing I want to mention is that a permit is required even to go past here. This sign kind of explains it, but basically you need to have a permit to go beyond this point. And we'll go into all the details of that, but just be sure if you're going to go here, number one, that you have a permit. And number two, basically what I'd like to say is while there is a short, like 1.5 mile loop that goes through here, you can kind of go wherever you want with some restrictions on that, which we'll get into. But I wouldn't use this video as like a guide for the trail. I'm not sure if I stayed on trail the whole time. In fact, I know there's places of this video where I'm just kind of going different places. I did find Skull Arch, which was really cool. So I'll put a kind of chapter to mark where Skull Arch is if you want to go check that out. Very cool. Absolutely beautiful. Fire Furnace is awesome. One other thing to mention is this is not for the faint of heart, we'll say. This is definitely a step up from all of the other hikes in the park. So if you're watching this and you're more advanced and you just want to see what it's like, then here we go. Otherwise, if you're kind of just like, oh, I'm at Good Arches, might check this out, just be ready. Just be ready for... You'll see. So basically the purpose of this video is just to kind of show you what Fiery Furnace is like, give a basic idea. There's a lot more scrambling and stuff like that. And then right now I'm also going to go through and kind of read all the stuff that's on the website and things like that. So hopefully it'll help you along your journey. This video is an hour and 15 minutes. Basically, I did the full marked loop, and then I went and found Skull Arch, and then I did some other kind of random exploring just to kind of show. I mean, to be honest, I would probably next time if I went here a lot more time to this hike, just because Fiery Furnace is such a cool place to be. And as you can see, even right at the beginning, I'm like, where do I go? I was kind of happy to see those people, but that's it. And as far as permits go, so I got a self-exploration permit. So basically, how it worked when I went, and this video was made in 2024, I went online to recreation.gov. I was able to get a permit through there, but basically, I wasn't issued the actual permit until I went to the park and went into the visitor center, and I did have to talk to a ranger directly and get a permit. See, as you can see, I'm already like kind of getting off trail. There's kind of these spur trails that go off in a lot of different places, so keep that in mind. I would say they mentioned this during the conversation with the rangers, but I would say that your best bet for sure is to go counterclockwise, because there are these little arrows that we'll see throughout the loop, and they were definitely more oriented towards a counterclockwise. Like if you went clockwise, I'm sure you could still figure it out eventually, but you might struggle. I would also kind of caution you in terms of using your GPS device. I was able to get it and it did work on my device, but I think like a lot of times you're in very like slot canyon-y type areas in here, which makes it very cool, but at the same time, sometimes GPS doesn't work there. So you want to have all your bearings kind of with you on this hike and kind of act together. Like I wouldn't just jump into this if it's my first hike in Arches and I was inexperienced. Personally, I found it really fun. It was kind of some cool scrambling. But even like right here, I'm like, does the actual route go to the right or do I drop down? I end up dropping down here, but maybe there's an easier way to the right. Like maybe there's a cairn or something, but kind of cool. I do enjoy the choose your own adventure part. I'm sure there's a lot of tons of canyoneering and more technical stuff you can get into here. I'm not sure if that requires additional permits and things like that. Make sure to look into that. Absolutely amazing area, highly recommended. But like I said, like look at even this right here. This is way harder than you'll find on any of the normal hikes in Arches National Park. Not super hard, but still certainly a step above. And already it's like, is this the right way? I already kind of think maybe to the right above that there was probably an easier way down. Maybe a better way is to start with the ranger-led hike too, to be honest. All right, so Fiery Furnace hikes. One option is you can go with a ranger, and this stuff that I'm going to be reading for the next little while is directly from the website. If you're looking for a ranger-led fiery furnace hike, this is the page for you. The only way to enter the fiery furnace is with a ranger or with an individual permit. Rangers normally offer fiery furnace hikes spring through fall. Tickets to these hikes are in high demand and reservations are required. Everyone attending a fiery furnace hike should be aware of the challenging nature of the terrain and properly equipped for current conditions, including temperature extremes. During these physically demanding hikes, you will walk and climb on irregular and broken sandstone, along narrow ledges above drop-offs, and in loose sand. There are gaps you must jump across and narrow places that you must squeeze into and pull yourself up and through. In some places, you must hold yourself off the ground by pushing against the sandstone walls with your hands and feet. Due to the maze-like nature of the terrain, all participants must complete the hike once they enter the fiery furnace. I don't understand that sentence. Due to the maze-like nature of the terrain, all participants must complete... Oh, gotcha. If you go with a ranger, you have to complete the hike. You can't just go back on your own because you might get lost. I was like, man, that'd be scary if you go in. It's like, you must complete your hike. Yeah, don't just give up in there. But anyway, that makes sense now with a ranger because it's a ranger's hike. So to better judge the hike's difficulty, there are videos and photo galleries on the website, or you can watch this video to kind of give you an idea. You must wear good hiking shoes or boots with gripping soles. No sandals or high-heeled shoes are allowed. Each person must carry at least 1 quart or liter of water. You should stow water and other gear in a backpack so that your hands are free to help you navigate the terrain. Tripods are not recommended. There are some age restrictions. Due to the terrain's difficulty, we do not allow children under the age of 5 on either hike. An adult must accompany all children under 12 and under. And as of the recording this video, and I wouldn't take any of this as gospel, always refer to the website and things like that, but the cost of a ranger-led fiery furnace tour is $16 per person. All right, so ranger hike in the fiery furnace. Wondering what to expect on a guided hike through the fiery furnace? This video will give you a quick glimpse. Okay, so there is a video on their website, probably better than this in terms of being more succinct. I mean, all of my videos kind of just show the whole thing. I did edit out a little bit of my wandering and all of my breaks, but still, there's a lot of kind of meandering. I mean, I loved it down here, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly a challenging place for sure. All right, so a different kind of hiking. The fiery furnace is a natural labyrinth of narrow passages between towering sandstone walls. To enter the fiery furnace, you must accompany a ranger-guided hike or obtain a self-guided exploration permit before your visit. Hiking in the fiery furnace is a different experience from other trails in the park. You may encounter dead ends, and it can be easy to get lost. There are small markers for one counterclockwise route in the fiery furnace, but there are many other possible paths, and getting lost is a real possibility. GPS units do not work well due to the towering sandstone walls. Navigating its complex passages requires physical agility and careful observation. To protect the wildlife and plants that inhabit sand dunes and drainages between the rock walls, you will need to choose your steps wisely. We recommend first-time visitors to the fiery furnace join a ranger-guided tour or go with someone who has been before. I did not do that. I went on my own. I was able to figure it out, but like I said, very, very challenging, hard to figure out. I tried my absolute best to stay on trail and my absolute best to, not harm any cryptobiotic soil. I hope I have succeeded. I mean, you can see in this video, but I truly did try my best to accomplish that. All right, so currently, this is how the permit thing goes. Fiery furnace permits. If you want to enter the fiery furnace on your own, you must obtain the permit online in advance. You must reserve a self-guided fiery furnace exploration permit from recreation.gov or by calling them. No permits can be reserved in person. Permits must be reserved online at least 2 days prior to the trip date with a max of 7 days in advance. Group size is limited to 6 people, and children under age 5 are not allowed. Pets are prohibited. Fiery furnace permits are valid for a specified date and for day use only, sunrise to sunset. All members of the hiking party must be present to watch the required educational video and listen to an orientation talk. Online reserved permits must be picked up either the day before or the day of only at Arches Visitor Center during normal operating hours. Note, the visitor center stops issuing permits 1 hour prior to closing time. Self-guided fiery furnace exploration permits are for private use only. Commercial groups are not permitted in the fiery furnace. You can find trails approved for commercial use, and then kind of lists all that. Permits frequently sell out quickly during the busy season. Fiery furnace permit fees, $10 per person for the self-guided. Again, that's at the time of this video. And basically, you just go into the visitor center. Visitor center is cool anyway. It's pretty much right at the entrance. Also the low point of the park elevation-wise. And I just talked to a ranger. They brought me into a room. I watched a video with some other people that were there. The ranger talked to us for a little bit, and then we moved on. The main takeaway that I had from it, beyond the challenging nature of this hike, and the beyond the challenging nature of the hike, and beyond the just the regulations of it, was that you need to stay on you really want to try your absolute hardest and only stay on 3 separate areas. That would be a designated trail, so like where the arrows are that point you in the direction, and you can see a lot of this. It is fairly well worn, the main path. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like it isn't. Up here right in the video, you can see one of the, well, actually, is that an arrow or is that yeah, see, that's an arrow. So that arrow's pointing down. So I'm looking around, and then you kind of like, okay, so you go down. You don't keep going up there. But basically, there's 3 surfaces you want to stay on. So it'd be that designated path, which again, certainly meanders and does branch off more in Fiery Furnace than other areas of the park. Second would be to stay on slick rock. So if you're just walking directly on the rock surface. And then third would be sandy washes. So, kind of a stream bed that doesn't have water in it. And you really want to try to avoid, cryptobiotic soil. Cryptobiotic soil is it really looks like dirt with almost a texture to it. Like, if you look at it, it looks like it just kind of has a kind of a surface texture, rougher surface texture on it. And there's kind of usually like darker spots on it. Usually it's like darker brown or black looking. And it takes a super long time for that to grow. So be really careful and try to avoid cryptobiotic soil as much as you possibly can, and stay on those 3 surface types that we just talked about. All right, so as far as geographical and geological facts, it's situated in the eastern section of Arches National Park, near the window section, approximately 7 miles from the park's visitor center. Do keep in mind, I mean, the first time I went to on this day, the parking lot was completely full. There was actually maybe a spot, like there was a pull-off right outside of the main trailhead, but I decided to go do some other stuff first, and I went here a little bit later in the day. If I went back, I actually would have given myself a lot more time. I would have gone much earlier in the morning, probably, and I would have probably stayed longer. It's a really cool place. But again, just make sure you're paying attention, looking behind you, like, where am I going? Where am I getting off track? I went off track on purpose a lot of times because I was like, oh, I wonder what's here. And I did really want to find Skull Arch, which did end up being pretty cool. Like, even here, it kind of says dead end ahead, but there's all these footprints. So I was like, maybe I should go check it out. Do I actually go? Yeah. And then I found this kind of cool arch, little tiny arch in here that was awesome. So, your mileage may vary. I was just kind of thinking, there's a lot. Maybe the tour takes people down here to show them this tiny arch. I kind of think that they might. So something kind of cool to think about. And the area is formed by the erosion of Entrada sandstone. So here, look at this in here. It's very cool. So I was happy that I went here because, look, I found an arch. So I'm not sure if this has a name. I'm sure there is a nickname for it. The amount of steps there were going to it made me think that there must be. So pretty cool. What a cool area. So this area is formed from the erosion of the Entrada sandstone, which has created a complex network of narrow passages, fins, and arches. The name Fiery Furnace comes from the way the red rock glows at sunset, resembling the biblical fiery furnace. So geological features you'll see in here, you have fins, which are thin walls of rock that can be as high as 100 feet, narrow canyons, as we're walking through right now. And some are only a few feet wide, and you kind of have to like squeeze through. So cool. And then arches. And then it says, while not as famous as Delicate Arch, there are several arches within Fiery Furnace, including the aptly named Spectacles Arch. I didn't see Spectacles Arch. So something to consider. It's kind of a mystery. Again, if I go back here again, I'd love to spend a full day down here kind of trying to find all the different arches and checking out more of the side trails. Very cool. I would bring a ton of water and be really careful in terms of navigation, because it definitely is an easy place to get lost. And it says a typical ranger, and this is according to another website. It said a typical ranger tour lasts about 3 hours. Self-guided trips take anywhere 2 to 4 hours. Again, I would probably spend more towards that 4 hours, or give yourself, bring enough water and food to go at least 4 hours, because you could spend a lot of time down here, or you might be, if you're not being careful, you could definitely lose your way a little bit. As far as environmental considerations, best visited in cooler months, spring or fall, due to high summer temperatures. Winter can be cold, but the area is still navigable with proper gear. And of course, try to practice leave no trace principles. Hikers, you really just do want to avoid that cryptobiotic soil. And while not extensively documented, this larger area, likely had significance for various Native American tribes, possibly for spiritual or hunting reasons. The Fiery Furnace became popular in the 20th century as part of the broader exploration of Arches National Park, which was established in 1929 and later expanded. Yeah, and hopefully, if you've watched the video this far, 17 minutes in, you can already tell, like, oh man, some of the moves are a little bit more challenging. I know a lot of people might be laughing and being like, this isn't that big a deal. I personally didn't think it was that big a deal, but for a lot of people, this is going to be really challenging / not fun / maybe not bring your kids and things like that. So just a hike to kind of have more consideration for things like that. So certainly one of the most unique experiences in Arches National Park. I mean, absolutely beautiful. I love all these slot canyons and stuff. They're so cool. All right, so with that, I don't have too much to add, so feel free if you want to just watch these videos. I like to leave them on in the background, I'll just throw them up on my monitor if I'm getting some other work done, or if I'm at work, throw them up and kind of have something cool to look up at, so I have something fun. Or if you're really interested in where something is, like you could probably determine, like, okay, I need to go down here to get to Skull Arch, but in that section of the video, I have to warn you, I definitely did some exploring that is not the best in terms of being able to figure out where I go. I was also really interested, like I remember when I was looking for Skull Arch, and I was like, oh, I just need to go up this side drainage, and it was like, nope, it's not there. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. But because of I think what makes this area so special, or one of the reasons, is there's so many like crazy drainages and just little tiny, like you look and this is little tiny crack, and it's like, oh, and and you just go through it for 100 feet and then it completely opens up, and then really right next to it is another one, and you wouldn't even really guess, like less than 50 feet away there's another like side canyon and things like that. So incredibly complex drainage and topography in here, which adds the challenge of getting lost in exploration, but it also adds like an amazing layer of exploration and just wonder, because it's so cool to be able to explore everything. All right, so that's my talking again. There's about an hour more of footage, so if you want to check it out and be more, just to see what there is and see how the whole route goes, feel free to check it out. There wasn't really a spot that I remember being particularly, like this is the crux of the route for that, the designated loop. But there are for sure several places again where you're a little bit hesitant on like, where do I go? And then for sure a little bit of, wow, I have to scramble up that, and that's the intended route. Kind of unexpected and compared to other trails. So keep all of that in mind and have a wonderful time.